more on this, let's bring in Aaron Sibarium, a reporter at the Washington Free Beacon. Aaron, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so and this is obviously grown completely out of control to the point that Columbia has put its classes into remote learning today. They're not even going in person. Things have really gotten out of hand, no?
Yeah, they have. But I really think this is just the culmination of everything that's been happening since October 7th, but really what's been happening since long before October 7th.
Right.
There's a long, long history of these schools refusing to discipline protesters who engage in totally inappropriate and disruptive conduct. We've seen speeches derailed at Yale and Stanford Law School, all sorts, campus squads occupied. All of this has been happening with some regularity since at least 2015. And now it's just intensified, and the schools are really, really screwed because they've let it fester. And now the only way to really get rid of it looks like to call in police and use force in a way that they don't want to do.
Also, one of the features of this is there's nothing nuanced about the positions. It's not like they're out chanting at Columbia that we need to reconsider our policy towards Israel. Is this in the country's best interest? How much aid should we be sending Israel, if at all? That's not what the debate is. It's not even a debate. They're calling for the eradication of Israel. They're doing the from the river to the sea chant over and over. You've got any number of these people who've said that they're actually pro-Hamas. You had one person captured on video saying, at least, that we are Hamas, we're all Hamas, identifying with explicitly a terror organization. These are radicals. These are full-blown extremists who are on these college campuses.
Yeah, of course. It's far beyond criticism of Israel. It does seem to me that at Columbia it's particularly bad. I haven't seen protesters literally say we are Hamas at many other places, but even at Yale, where I was actually on the ground for a few hours this weekend, there is a disturbing willingness to normalize and valorize terrorism. At Yale, at that big encampment in Beinecke Plaza, they set up a shrine to Walid Daka, who was involved in the abduction and murder of an Israeli soldier. I believe they also had tributes up to Leila Khaled, who was the first Palestinian woman to hijack an airplane. So both promoting Palestinian terrorism and women's representation, I guess.
They're not hiding it.
No, they're not. They're not hiding it at all. And what's surreal, though, about these protests, I thought, is that the monuments to terrorism will sort of exist and be juxtaposed side by side with these posters demanding a ceasefire. And at Yale, there was one great scene I saw. I saw this firsthand. They had all these posters saying, ceasefire, ceasefire, okay. But then what were they chanting? They were chanting, literally, smash the settler Zionist state. Now, that doesn't really sound like a call for a ceasefire to me.
No, not in the slightest. I want to play some audio for you. This is just a short while ago. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at a Biden event celebrating Earth Day. Here she is encouraging the students at Columbia, Yale, and Berkeley. Take a listen to this.
It is especially important that we remember the power of young people shaping this country today, of all days, as we once again witness the leadership of those peaceful student-led protests on campuses like Columbia, Yale, Berkeley, and many others.
How would she define peaceful, do you think?
Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, look, part of what is going on here, I think, is that at least at Columbia, it seems like the actual students are probably more tame than the people from outside campus. The problem is that when you have these massive encampments set up by the students within campus, it makes it very hard, I think, for Columbia to secure the perimeter and to monitor who's actually going into the quad. And so you get these outside agitators slipping through the school's defenses and saying all the really radical stuff, and in some cases physically threatening Jewish students. So even if the student protesters are peaceful, as AOC is claiming, they're still disrupting in a way that creates opportunities for non-peaceful elements within the Palestinian protest movement, and that's a real problem.
But in her assessment, when she says peaceful, my guess is she means people who aren't punching other people. But you do have people who are out there, and she's apparently supporting, who are chanting, "We are Hamas, and from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." That's the words of support she just offered.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she seems to think that as long as they aren't punching people, there's no problem.
Yeah.
I would argue that even if the protesters are conducting themselves peacefully, we should care about the message of the protests, and protest actively calling for violence is morally different and not deserving of the same approbation as a protest not calling for violence.
Yeah, they're totally right. Okay, so Biden, for his part, as we're speaking literally just moments ago, was asked by a reporter about this. I want to play this for you and get your reaction. We're with Aaron Sibarium right now. Here's President Biden's remarks.
To say.
You condemn the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses.
I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I've set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians and how they're being.
Should the Columbia University president resign?
Right this way. I didn't know that. I'll have to find out more about it.
Okay. He has no idea what he's saying. So people know, he said, "I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I have set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians." So it kind of sounds like he's trying to equivocate here. He wants to say that the protesters, the occupiers here on these campuses have a point.
Yeah, that's assuming he knows what he's saying, which I think is a bit doubtful. But look, he's in a bind because Jews are a very important part of his coalition, and so are Muslims, especially Muslims in Michigan. So there really is no way that he, or for that matter, any other kind of liberal institution can respond to this without alienating a pretty important part of their constituency.
But as a political matter, Aaron, he ran on this idea that he was motivated by trying to stop anti-Jewish hatred. He says that it was the images of Charlottesville, the Jews will not replace us chants by racist, anti-Semitic people that got him animated. He's like, I wanted to stop that. Why is it that during his presidency that sentiment's only been inflamed? How did that happen?
Well, look, because we all know what he really meant, right? He meant by Charlottesville, he was inflamed by the white people, the white nationalists who were saying anti-Semitic things. When the anti-Semitism is coming from non-white people, it tends not to matter as much.
But let me add one caveat, though. A lot of the images I'm seeing are of white people. They're white leftist campus radicals chanting about how much they hate Israel.
But they're chanting on behalf of a group of people that is at least understood to be not white. Right. They're claiming to speak on behalf of those people. I mean, that's the relevant distinction here. I mean, I really think that a lot of this comes down to just a very simplistic narrative in which white conservative racists are bad and kind of the rest of the country, which is sort of understood in opposition to them, are good. This is, of course, an extremely simplistic worldview. I'm sure that Biden wouldn't, consciously endorse it, but I think in practice that's the kind of animating impulse beneath a lot of this protest and beneath a lot of the double standard.
Yes, and by the way, underneath it all, there is no distinction between those people. As a matter of, I like how in American politics, we constantly try and put things in right-left frames. But if you are reducing people to their religion or skin color, and then you're saying you hate them because of that, you're the same people. In the end, you're the same identitarian lunatics. And Biden is forgiving one while condemning the other. When of course it's all the same out of control behavior.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing I would say is that one thing that's funny about the Palestinian issue specifically is that some of the most outspoken activists, I think, probably don't, in fact, have particularly left-wing views on social issues. I mean, some of the more conservative Muslim students who I suspect are pretty conservative on race and gender issues are leading the charge and kind of aligning, it seems, with a group of predominantly white woke activists, right? There's an interesting coalitional dynamic here where I think, Muslims who have more conservative views on various social issues end up in the same camp as the woke campus radicals. But if you ask them about their views on, say, same-sex marriage, I suspect at least a couple of the Muslim students or outside community members at these protests would have different views from, say, the Jews for Ceasefire Now crowd, right? Those are kind of different groups.
Well, this is how you end up with people with Queers for Palestine signs at these places. It's totally incoherent, and yet here we are. Aaron Sibarium, thank you very much from the Washington Free Beacon. Always appreciate your reporting and your insights. Thank you, sir.